Welcome back to the Road to City Hall. We're talking with the State Assembly Speaker, Sheldon Silver. One last question on the budget, which is another proposal that has gotten some attention, which is this, they call it smoothing out pension plans for future years. It's basically borrowing against anticipated savings within pension plans. It's gotten some resistance from the former Lieutenant Governor Dick Ravitch and also from Mayor Stephanie Miner, who's also co-chair of the State Democratic Party. Your thoughts?
I don't know the intricacies of the plan that specific yet as we go through the budget. But there was the concept is to try and make a level payment. Right now the payments go up and down depending on performance of investments. And what this would do really is level it out. This has been proposed in the past by the controller of the city of New York, of the state of New York, and the idea is to give greater certainty actually to some of the localities. I don't know yet the practical effects of it. I respect Dick Ravitch, who is very keen on these issues, and I'm wondering, how these the difficulties can be overcome.
But at first blush?
At first blush, I don't see a problem with trying to make a level payment and save municipalities money by telling them, here's your obligations for the next 10, 15, or 20 years.
Let's talk about guns and the new legislation that the state passed. There's some interesting accounts that are coming out of the Capitol now that the governor really strong-armed, particularly the state Senate, when it comes to passing this legislation. It was passed with the message of necessity, which means that it didn't age the normal constitutionally dictated terms. It was passed extremely quickly behind closed doors. What are your thoughts about what the governor did and how it was passed?
Well, let's take your last statement first, the message of necessity. What was happening as the public knew we were talking about the issue was there were people lining up at gun shops buying assault weapons. If the bill was going to age 3 days, it would have heightened that. It would have made, our purpose was to ban assault weapons. And the sooner we passed the bill, the ban went into effect. If we gave people, more time to go out and buy that, that would have defeated part of our purpose. There would have been a proliferation of assault weapons in the state. So I think the governor acted absolutely appropriately. We had a bill. Everybody knew what it was. Everybody knew what we were talking about. This was no secret. You heard from the NRA, weeks before. There was no secret. You heard from the governor weeks before. You heard from the Senate, put out their plan on, which had nothing to do with it initially. And the Assembly has passed assault weapon bans every year for the last 10 years at least. Mm-hmm. So there was nothing new in that regard. It was putting the package together that was ultimately new. So there were no surprises. And the important thing was to cut off the sales as quickly as possible. And I think the governor acted appropriately.
Speaking of the Senate, there's this curious arrangement that I alluded to before, where you have a group of Democrats controlling power with a group of Republicans. How's that working out?
I think the jury's still out on it, how they work together and what they produce in the end result is going to be what tells the story. I don't think we can have a full picture of it yet.
Has there been any kind of negotiations where instead of the governor and you and the majority leader, there's the four of you now?
No.
That hasn't happened yet?
It hasn't happened.
Okay, when it does happen, you'll have to report back as to how that is. The Reproductive Health Act, that's something that has a lot of support within your House. Do you have any indication about whether it's going to pass on the other side of the Capitol?
I have no support at all. I do know the Democrats outnumber the Republicans in that House, and whether they can get it on an agenda where I believe it would pass in that House if it got on an agenda.
Okay. There was another chapter in the ongoing battle between the UFT and Mayor Bloomberg, this one on teacher evaluations. And their inability to reach a deal has left the city without millions and millions of dollars that would aid city schools. What are your thoughts as to how the negotiations were done, whether Governor Cuomo should have gotten more involved, and whether he should extend the deadline?
You know, you've asked about 5 questions.
We still have time.
I wasn't party to the negotiations. At some point, I thought there was a deal being made. So I don't know what went wrong with the deal. You know, 2 parties don't agree. You know, there's no deal. And that's what happened here. The city is penalized $240 million. One of the things in the budget, the governor perpetuates that penalty. And that's something that I think with 60% of the members of the majority in the Assembly coming from the city of New York, that may be a difficult thing for the Assembly to include in the budget, the ongoing penalty of that $240 million.
So even though they haven't reached a deal, you feel that your members might put that money back in?
I'm just saying it would be a difficult thing to deny the children of the city. There's still a penalty of federal funds that we don't control. So there's significant money on the table to encourage them to make a deal. And that was the original thought of it, is to put money on the table and say, look, this means more teachers, this money, or less layoffs if that's the case.
Right.
And you both have an incentive to do it.
Do you think that the governor should extend the deadline?
The deadline is over. I don't think he should extend the deadline.
Well, apparently he has until months from now before that money starts to flow.
Well, you're talking about this year's money.
Right.
Well, till the end of the fiscal year, then you begin, you know, the new fiscal year. And well, I'm just suggesting, looking at the new budget, we should not perpetuate that penalty so that the city of New York continues to lose $240 million in state aid.
So there was, to your knowledge, there was some sort of deal, and what happened?
I don't know. I was under the impression they were very close to a deal 2 weeks ago.
What's it like working with Governor Cuomo? I mean, I've covered you in Albany. You went through some interesting times over the last few years. What's this governor like? Well,
the governor is very smart, clearly. He knows the issues, especially the issues he supports. He listens, unlike some other governors. He will listen. He will hear something.
Are you referring to former Governor Spitzer?
Well, I think it's more than him, but you know, it's not a matter of it's not a matter of
you don't want to name
names. It's not important. He'll debate issues with you if you think he's wrong. He's willing to accept that debate as far as it goes. And so, you know, I find working with him, I happen to think I work with him very well. I think we have a good partnership. We've done a lot of things together.
Is he running for president?
You know, it's 2016 is still a long way to go. We in New York, look, we're blessed with a dearth of great candidates.
No, just the opposite. Not a dearth, but...
I'm sorry, yes, not a dearth, a multitude of great candidates, and, you know, the governor's clearly one of them. I think Hillary Clinton would be one if she decided to run. I'm not sure, you know, what she's doing. I think, you know, the governor, you know, would look to see what she's doing as well. But the governor is clearly someone who will be on the national scene in the future. There's no question about it. His performance in New York so far, he's led the nation on a host of things, both as Attorney General and as the governor.
Do you think that Hillary Clinton will run for president?
I have no idea. I have not spoken to her about it. I have no idea.
Okay. We'll leave it there.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
It's time for breaks. Still ahead, we will look at how the new leadership coalition in the state Senate is already facing challenges, and then there are big plans for the Kingsbridge Armory, but we'll ask a special panel about the Bronx if they think that will become a reality. Stay with us.